Dobry den, hey, and hello. Welcome to this episode of the Sprachenzentrum's Minding Your Language series. Today, we'll be taking a closer look at adjective clauses, so if you're unfamiliar with what those are, feel free to check out the first video in our adjective clause series linked below. Okay, let's get started. To get a deeper sense of a couple of new aspects of adjective clauses, let's again visit our friend and Riverbend University student Linda, who we last left editing an English essay. She'll be helping us to get to know the difference between a non-defining and defining adjective clause, as well as how an adjective clause can refer to an entire idea. At the moment, Linda is busy working at her student job at Riverbend University's Welcome Center, where preparation for a new semester is in full swing. The phone rings, and Linda picks up. During the brief conversation, she learns she has to quickly take a document downstairs to one of the Welcome Center's orientation leaders who's giving a presentation to new students today. She's sent an email with the details, and the only hint she is given as to which room the orientation leader is in is the following. The students, who have finished the orientation, have left the room. The orientation leader will still be there. Pay attention to the adjective clause in the middle of the sentence here. Linda doesn't know it yet, but it's going to help her out of a jam in just a moment. Linda heads downstairs. Luckily, the building isn't too busy today, so she quickly locates the only hallway with activity. She walks down the hall and sees two rooms with open doors across from one another. Both have signs hanging on the door reading, "Orientation here today." In one room, an orientation leader is talking to a small group of students. In the other, the orientation leader is alone, cleaning up after the orientation session. For a moment, Linda isn't sure which room she should deliver the document to. They both seem to have had orientation today, and students have left both rooms. Then, Linda has a flash of insight. She remembers that the details in the email read, "The students, who have finished the orientation, have left the room." In this case, the commas before and after the adjective clause tell us that this is a non-defining adjective clause. That is, we don't actually need the information in the adjective clause to define, identify, or understand the noun that the adjective clause is describing. Here, the commas let us know we could take out the information in the adjective clause and still identify the students it's talking about. Because of this, Linda knows that the sentence is referring to all of the students in the orientation, meaning they've all left the room. Problem solved. Note that non-defining adjective clauses can typically be used with the relative pronouns which, who, and whose, but not that. If there had not been any commas in the sentence, the adjective clause would have been necessary to identify specific students, the ones who had finished orientation and then left the room. This would have let us know that some students hadn't finished yet and were still in the room. Let's look at another example. Linda walks in and hands the document to the orientation leader at the desk. He thanks her and quickly asks her for another favor before she leaves the room. "Could you take this list back to the Welcome Center? It says in my orientation instructions, students who write their email addresses on the sign-up sheet would like to be added to our social media group." Linda notices this sentence has no commas. Therefore, she's quickly able to tell that not all the students left their email addresses. The adjective clause in the sentence is needed to tell us that it's talking only about the students who did do this, or define them. This is called a defining adjective clause. If there had been commas in the sentence, we wouldn't need the adjective clause to identify the students being talked about, which means that all students would have left their email addresses and wanted to be added to the social media group. To make sure the new students get added to the social media group as soon as possible, she hurries back to the Welcome Center to drop off the list. She pops into the director's office and hands her the list. "Oh," the director says, surprised. "Thank you. I wasn't expecting this for a while. You're always so conscientious, which is why I'm so glad you work here." "Not a problem. I'm happy to help," Linda says, smiling as she leaves the director's office. Maybe it was because she was thinking about adjective clauses earlier, but something about the last thing her director said sticks in her mind. Let's take a look. Linda's director said, "You're always so conscientious, which is why I'm so glad you work here." Linda realizes why she thought it was a bit funny. She learned that an adjective clause describes a noun or noun phrase that comes before it, but there's no noun directly before this clause. This is true, but after thinking about it for a moment, Linda remembers it can also do something else. An adjective clause can describe an entire idea, that is, the whole clause that comes before it. In this particular example, the director is glad because Linda is always conscientious. The adjective clause refers to the whole idea of, "You're always so conscientious." Be careful, though, when using adjective clauses like this, we're only able to use the relative pronoun which. This type of adjective clause is also always non-defining, so remember to use a comma. Alright, Linda thinks to herself, that's enough grammar for now, which is a good thing because my head doesn't have any more room right now for clauses. Without thinking about it, Linda has given us another example. The adjective clause, which is a good thing, refers to the whole idea that Linda has had enough grammar for now, instead of a single noun or noun phrase. It seems like Linda just can't get away from these adjective clauses. Alright, before we finish for today, let's recap. Today we've seen that non-defining adjective clauses are set off by commas and don't contain information necessary to identify the thing they're talking about. Defining adjective clauses don't use commas, and they have information required to identify who or what they're talking about. Adjective clauses can also talk about whole ideas, that is, full clauses. These must use which as a relative pronoun and are non-defining. Well, that about wraps things up for now. Thanks for watching. And if you found this video helpful, check out the next adjective clause videos in this series, or any of our other grammar and English language learning videos linked below. Nasled, hej då! See you next time!